Hello and welcome back to the UK edition. Have we said goodbye to our old and now useless Indian currency notes or not yet? There is a question here that goes beyond the loss of individual money, and we put that question to Russell Napier, market strategist at Cerno Capital. Russell, thanks for joining us today. Now, we've had a suggestion from the Governor of the Bank of England that Indian banks in the UK and in Europe should exchange those old notes for new valid ones. Does that seem like a good idea?
Yes, it does. I mean, a banknote is an important liability of the government. It's a promise from the government, and it relates to your ability to trust the government. And your willingness and ability to trust the government is a crucial part to be played in the development of any country. And to say to people who own those liabilities that those liabilities have no money is a dangerous, dangerous thing to do. We all know why the demonetisation came in. I am personally supported. I think that was a good reason for bringing it in. Clearly it hasn't been well handled. But ultimately, to default on that obligation in whatever shape or form does not help India whatsoever. And therefore, on exactly the same terms and conditions, it should be done in Europe. And if it catches people who've been avoiding taxation, and those are Indians living in Europe, then good. That's a good thing and not a bad thing. But welshing on that liability of the state, it doesn't help anybody.
Speaking of the Indian diaspora here, it is huge, and there is also a sense that it should show by example the value of investing in India on scale, and that is not happening yet. Why not?
Yeah, look, I think that's probably a question you could write a whole book about. It's a really fascinating question, because we have seen the diaspora of China, for instance, play a major role in putting foreign capital into businesses in China. When I discuss that with Indian people, London, we're sitting in London here today, there's a lot of capital from all over the world coming into London. Is it because things are cheap? Well, it's certainly not because things are cheap. But one of the reasons it comes here is because of the rule of law. People feel they've got very, very strong property rights here. Now, I do realise that India has a very sophisticated legal system, but it does take some time to protect those legal rights. There is worry by some people I speak to that perhaps India is heading in a direction where the rule of one man is more powerful than the rule of law. I don't agree with that, but some people fear it. So in terms of re-encouraging and reinvigorating FDI by Indian citizens themselves, the more clearer it is to them that they will be able to maintain title to those assets, I think will be a huge, huge positive for India. I think the time has come. So I have a little bit of a bias on this because I used to be a lawyer. But if I was the Prime Minister, I'd be doing everything in my power to reform the legal system. Not the laws within the legal system, but the effectiveness of the legal system to live up to those laws. And I believe that would help bring some of the capital which has left India over many, many years back into India. So that's not a short-term fix, that's a very long-term fix. But in the whole scheme of reform, people tend to forget the legal system and the effectiveness of the legal system, and it's not really highly rated when you ask people how important things are. But I think it is actually in the long run the most important thing. And hopefully when that comes to India, then we will absolutely see that capital going back to take the obvious opportunities which exist there.
The Indian community in Europe certainly has between it a fat lot of capital and a very tall profile. It is positioned uniquely and interestingly in the middle of all these conversations between Europe on one hand and India on the other. In television, in cinema, we see so many expressions of this connection. And who carried those better than Om Puri? We remember East is East. Coming up very soon, Viceroys House. Gurinder Chadda was one of the last filmmakers to have worked with him. We spoke to her about what it was like to work with Om Puri.
I am to be the last Viceroy of India, and I shall carry out the role with great pride.
We are brothers with one soul. To divide us on religious grounds is against the will of God.
Not to tear apart.
People like me, we dream of working with actors like Om Puri. Om Puri gave so much commitment to his craft that it was a pleasure to be on set with him. And on Viceroys House, I can't begin to tell you the attention to detail and the sheer force with which he embraced his character and added so many nuances that I hadn't even thought of to bring him alive. I think that he had this amazing ability to really become the character he was playing and really take on board their whole biography, their whole background, their way of thinking, you know, why they would think in a certain way, why they would walk in a certain way, why they would talk in a certain way. What would be the reason, the intention behind every single line? What was it? But a lot of actors do that. But with Omji, I saw him go a little further and introduce elements, you know, that I don't know where he thought of them. So, for example, in Viceroys House, he plays Abba, father of Huma Qureshi. He plays a Muslim freedom fighter who marched with Gandhi and was imprisoned with Gandhi. And he is blind, but he's sitting, he's listening to the radio, he's listening to a speech actually by Nehruji. And he asked me in that scene if he could have a newspaper. And I said, what are you going to do with a newspaper? Ek to aap ane and dusri baat kaise aap padhenge, aap sun rahe radio ko? And he said, nahi, Bibi ji, mujhko newspaper chahiye. So I said, okay, fine. So we got him a newspaper. He took the newspaper, ripped it, crunched it into a ball, and during the scene he created himself a little stress ball for his hands to go like this whilst he was listening to the radio. And I thought that was amazing, because here he was showing us a man who was elderly but committed to his health, even though he was blind, you know, and had a zest for life by wanting to protect his limbs, you know, I mean his fingers, his digits, you know, in that scene.
मियाँ ये हफ्ता लेना भूल जाता था पर रोजाना चकनी नहीं भूलता था.
For me, my memory of Om Puri is smiling and always smiling and extremely mischievous. बहुत शरारती थे. And on set, you know, he was always trying to tease me. He was always trying to laugh with the extras, particularly. There's a wonderful moment on set when he's in a party scene with us, and we got an extra from the crowd to come and give him a plate of pakoras because he's sitting by himself, and the extra was very nervous, having to do a dialogue moment with the great Om Puri. And anyway, we went for it. We had 2 cameras, we had 300 extras, and the extra came. He went up to him and he said, "Abba ji, pakode, aap lo." And Om Puri looked at him and said, "No, bera nahi hu." And everybody burst out laughing, and of course I had to cut because that wasn't the dialogue, you know. But he didn't care. The camera was rolling, but if he could get a joke out of it, he got a joke. And it was actually wonderful, you know, because he was able to keep everyone's spirits up at 4 a.m. And there was a night shoot, you know. That's what I remember, is even in the middle of the night, he had this ability to just make us all feel very good about what we were doing and how important it was to remember that the work we do is important work, and if we can make ourselves feel good about it, you know, while still working hard, that's a good thing, and I will always treasure that memory. And my only regret now is he had asked me, when will I see the film? When can I see the film? I'm dying to see the film. I said, I'm going to come to India, I'm going to show it to you. And I was planning now to come to India to sit with him, share all our hard work with the film, and have a drink or 2 with him after. And that I feel very sad about.
Some people can never be replaced. Quick break now, and then let's see about a home in India. Welcome back. Welcome back to India. The builders there now seem to say with some very attractive and very attractively priced new homes. Let's see what might be on offer.
The immigration wheel seems to have come full circle for many Indians who migrated to Britain in the 1950s and 60s to find a new home. Many are now turning back to India to build a new home in what was once their homeland. Not to move back, but to have a second home, or more than second, in India. Indian builders have been flocking to one fair after another in Britain to show just what is on offer. Indians both young and old can now talk of deals face to face with builders right here in Britain. New and attractive homes are coming up all over, with a host of facilities around ranging from schools to hospitals. Builders are in effect offering little townships to live in.
That yellow building is National Public School, one of the best schools in India, and that's ready for admission. From November this year, the admission starts for that school. Next to that building is again Urbana Serene, which I was talking about the senior living. Another 6 months down the line, you see around 300 elderly people moving in there. We have projects across South India like Bangalore, Chennai, and we also have projects in Bombay and Goa. We have apartments. See, we have a township in Bangalore. It's an integrated township with 190 acres of land where you have everything inside.
Given the age profile of many investors and potential investors now considering a home in India post-retirement, builders are offering many sets of homes particularly suited to senior living.
We do also have a senior living. It's called Serene, where the person who is beyond 55 years old, they live together there, and they have a common kitchen and dining. We'll have 100% security 24/7. Plus, you also have the doctor facilities and ambulance on a call, and there will be a caretaker. What more you expect?
But it's not all about care for the remigrating elderly. Young professionals on the move are being offered glamour of the Hollywood kind in Mumbai, with the American touch all the way from California to Miami.
The developments what we have got are starting from Bandra till Borivali right now. And the projects what we are doing are mainly theme projects. We generally develop projects on a particular theme. Like we have got a project at Mahim, which is called Kanaka Miami. It's the characteristic of the project is based on the culture of Miami.
That kind of glamour, of course, comes at a price.
The investments are starting from like 2.5 crore Indian rupees and goes on till 15 crore rupees property which we have got. The gains as far as it's basically it's a user-friendly apartments, but if you see the gains would be around 10% per annum in the rates of property there.
New developments are coming up at a fast pace in and around Mumbai. Many of these are high-rise buildings coming up where Mumbai's old mills once stood.
This particular property has been a part of a larger development, wherein this is just phase one of it, what we are doing in. And there are 6 iconic towers what we are coming up with, and wherein the set of amenities are planned, something about on the 14th floor, taking up to the 300 feet above the ground level. And it's a larger development in that particular area because typically today what people are looking out as are not the single standalone structures. People are looking at a community development wherein yes, this is what kind of development what we are doing in.
Indian developers are now making a new pitch aimed at the wave of top professionals who have moved to Britain in recent years.
We have a lot of Indians who are living in London, who've come here for work, who are on different kind of work permits. Of course, they are on the intra-company work permits. These are the people who will be here for a deputation for 2, 3 or 5 years, and then they will ultimately go back to India. So these are the people who want to go back and connect back and buy a property in India, buy a property in their homeland, either for residential purpose or for investment purpose. So these are the people that we are targeting out here.
The homes are being sold as investments and not just a home to live in.
These properties offer you very good appreciation and offer you very good livability and are easily good for rentable. So any British Indian who is looking at investing in India will look at these properties as a place where they could safely invest.
What you pay depends greatly on where you choose to live and of course the kind of place you pick to live in.
We are currently going in for a ticket price size right from 2 crore to 12 crore onwards for both our projects in Mumbai. And for our projects in Chennai, it starts anywhere from 28 lakhs and goes on up to within 1.5 crore. For the project in Bangalore, it starts from 1.2 crores and goes on up to 2.85 crores. So we offer varieties of apartments right from 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom and 4 bedroom in different locations.
The housing fairs in the UK have become a one-stop shop for seeing what is on offer to concluding a deal and transferring money. And soon the wheel could take another unexpected cycle. Indian builders plan to build homes for the elderly in the US and in Britain.
We will be starting with Atashri, this senior citizen concept. So this concept is very simple, housing meant for senior citizen. So entire amenities, the design of the flat, the specification, we have a doctor's facility in the complex, we have our own canteen mess, a transportation bus, everything is provided as per the requirement of senior citizen. So that we are planning to launch in UK.
Indian companies are coming with both plans and loans, and they are finding many takers. Beyond senior living, beyond investment, India will always be home.
They feel a huge emotional connect back to their homeland. The families are back in, back in India. They also have extended family. They want their children to visit India. So, or they may have retirement plans. Sometimes a lot of people here tell us that they don't want to stay here for winter because of the harsh weather conditions. They would like to go back to their home. So these are the people who look for property back in India, and we are happy to help them in their search for a property.
With Sanjay Suri in London, this is Arunodaya Mukherjee for News 18.
Some of those homes could make this feel like a home away from home, especially if you step into the cold outside. But stay warm and see you again very soon.